Hello, I'm Jack Craig. I'm the Department of Energy Manager here at Savannah River, and I'd like to welcome you to today's H Canyon celebration. It's hard to believe that over 6 decades ago, the place where we're standing was an open field. Fast forward 60 years and we find ourselves in the shadow of the nation's only hardened chemical separations facility that is still in operation. This incredible fact underscores two very important things: the technical know-how and creativity of the people who designed and built a facility that would stand the test of time and is still operating, and H Canyon's continued capabilities even today as a singular national asset for large-scale nuclear materials processing. Our critical national security missions will be very different today without it, which is why it's fitting that we now recognize and welcome back some very important guests joining us today. Will the SRS retirees please stand? These are the people who were essential to the foundation of H Canyon. And on behalf of everyone here, thank you for your legacy of service and hard work that paved the way for today's generation of H Canyon employees. Thank you once again. We are also pleased to have several other special guests from the community, academia, the state legislature, and the state legislature joining us today. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for being part of the SRS history. Sharing the stage with me are several familiar faces who will follow me with some brief remarks. I know everybody's dying to get to lunch today. First, we have Carol Johnson, Savannah River Nuclear Solutions President and CEO. Mr. Ken Pika. Ken is the DOE Deputy Assistant Secretary for Tank Waste and Nuclear Materials at Environmental Management Office at headquarters. And our special guest and a good friend, Congressman Joe Wilson. And now I'd like to introduce Carol Johnson.
Well, thank you, Jack. Appreciate that. I'm really proud to be here today as we celebrate H Canyon. I want to thank Congressman Wilson for coming. The Congressman is a huge supporter of the Savannah River Site, and he's just continues to be here for us whenever we need him. So thank you, Congressman. I also want to welcome Ken Pika. Thank you, Ken, for coming from Washington, D.C. to be with us today. I also want to recognize Dave Aldrich, who's here representing NNSA. Thank you, Dave. And I want to introduce a couple of the Savannah River Nuclear Solutions board members representing our parent companies here today. First, Nick Lombardo from HII. And my boss, Greg Meyer, representing Fluor. So some of you in the audience know that I have a long association with both F and H Canyons. And I started my beginnings in canyon operations back, 1991, 92. So I'm telling you all how old I am by saying that. But I had a couple of jobs back then. I started out as the support services manager in H Canyon and then became the ops manager. And so that was my introduction into canyon operations. And I can honestly tell all of you it was the best time of my career. And I particularly, some of the retirees I worked with a long time ago, and they were my mentors and educators, and I'm very, very grateful to you for that. I also want to say that I stole a picture off of the H Canyon wall way back when, and that picture was of a dried up cornfield, and there was a little wooden stake that said 1951 on it. And shortly after that date, the canyon started construction. And so here we are from 1955, where we actually started operation. Little over 3 years from the time ground was broken, it went into operation. And so here we are 60 years later, still operating, serving our nation's very important missions. So although H Canyon is 60 years old, it's still evolving to serve the nation's needs of today. We are using it as a test bed for new technologies in the spent nuclear fuel material field. We're using it in the restart of the AFS-2 mission, the plutonium oxide mission, and we're continuing to disposition spent fuel through the facility. All of these things are examples of how SRS continues some of the Department of Energy's most important nuclear materials missions, and particularly as it relates to national security. For all the great things that can be said about this impressive facility, H Canyon could not run without all of you, both past and present employees. You've been innovators, you've modeled excellence, and you have consistently delivered results with a safety and security culture second to none. And as Jack mentioned, we do have a special group here today of past employees, and we could not have succeeded, and we would not be here today without you. So we're very thankful for your commitment and service. I too would like to recognize and say a big thank you to our community stakeholders, again, who come whenever we call them and are very supportive to our work here at the Savannah River Site. So thanks to all of you for joining us today. And your support is essential to our operation. And to all of you, to all the employees here today, I salute you for your part in making our world a better and safer place. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. We have an advocate within DOE headquarters, and he's here with us today. I mentioned Ken Pika earlier, but Ken has responsibility for nuclear materials and other spent fuel type activities within our programmatic responsibilities at headquarters. But one thing we can count on, he's always an advocate for our budget also, which is very important. So I'd like to once again introduce Ken Pika.
Thanks, Jack. Well, I didn't bring money this time. But, before I get started, I would like to say that I've never actually worked in H Canyon, but I actually do have some experience working in a 1950s era nuclear facility. About 40 years ago, I just completed training and become qualified as a nuclear trained officer. And in fact, in that same group, retired Admiral Chuck Munns over here, and he wouldn't brag on it, so I'll brag on it. He finished #1 in that class, and I finished. So, anyway. But I will tell you that from that experience, and much like H Canyon today has a blend of both the original 1950s era components and more modern electronic controls, the Nautilus, which was what I was assigned to, also had a similar set of 1950s era components and more modern electronics, even though it's still modern relative at the time when I joined it about 40 years ago. But the important part was the guts of both those facilities are 1950s era components, and they worked damn well. So I'm certainly pleased to be here with you to celebrate the history and the future of H Canyon. From a DOE headquarters standpoint, I think the message is fairly simple. This is an opportunity for us to express our thanks and appreciation for all the work that takes place here and for continuing to provide us with a capability that helps the agency meet commitments to the nation and to the countries all over the world. And while we are here to commemorate H Canyon, we could just as easily be speaking of other facilities that are part of the integrated set of capabilities here at the Savannah River Site. To underscore what Carol and Jack have said, SRS has a set of capabilities that would allow us to do work that simply has to be done. Without that capability, our policy options are limited. That's why we can say with confidence that we really are contributing to making the world safer. I would join with others in recognizing those retirees who are with us today. And I'd also like to say a word to those who are at the beginning of their career. You have a unique opportunity to learn from talented people who have seen and done a lot of different things in a very unique operating environment. One of the most important things that will happen over the next several years is the transfer of knowledge and the preparation of the next generation workforce to understand and execute our mission. All around the world, we've seen examples of skill sets that have been lost. Savannah River Site is one of the sites that has been called upon to help because of the unique knowledge and skills of the operating, research, and engineering staff here at the site. This transition to a future workforce is important to the department and important to the nation. Those of you who are at the beginning of your career have an important role to play as the nuclear materials mission continues to evolve. And those of you that are at the middle and then towards the end of your careers, you have an important opportunity to continue that legacy. On behalf of the Office of Environmental Management and the leadership of the Department of Energy, I congratulate you on all that you have done to execute 60 years of missions at this facility safely and efficiently. We recognize and appreciate your commitment, and we thank you all that you do to make the department successful. Thank you.
Our final speaker has been one of H Canyon's strongest supporters in the U.S. Congress. Most folks know his career actually began here at Savannah River and has taken him all the way to his long-standing position as the representative from the 2nd Congressional District of South Carolina, Congressman Joe Wilson.
And ladies and gentlemen and friends and neighbors, it's so great to be with you here today. What a historic day. H Canyon, America's only nuclear weapons reprocessing facility. And so this is so important for our country, and as has been stated, I know firsthand the quality of the people who have worked here. I had the privilege of working here in the 1980s. It was really so impressive to me to know the quality of the personnel and what a difference you've made. Then I've had the opportunity to live it. And that is your progress, your success in making it possible as we work together as a team. I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to work with 4 U.S. senators, with the success of David Perdue and Johnny Isakson and Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott. And then in Congress, I get to work with Rick Allen, but particularly his wife, Robin. Y'all have got really great people, and Jeff Duncan, and it's bipartisan. Congressman Jim Clyburn represents a portion of the site. And when redistricting occurred, I got with him right away and said, hey, we're going to be working together to promote the site. And I've also, by having the opportunity of serving, I've seen your success. To me, it's called, with the retirees here, victory in the Cold War. I, 25 years ago, had the opportunity to be an election observer for the first free elections in Bulgaria. What you helped establish, freedom and democracy throughout Central and Eastern Europe that simply could not be possible if we hadn't had a strong national defense. And then this summer, I had the opportunity to go back to Sofia and to visit Novo Selo, a joint American-Bulgarian base. Young Bulgarians, young Americans working together to promote freedom and democracy in the area of the Balkans, how important that is. Additionally, I had the opportunity this summer to go to Czech Republic. I was in Pilsen, where there was a recognition of their liberation 60 years ago, again, a very important time, by the 3rd U.S. Army. Sadly, for 50 years, in 1946, the people of Czechoslovakia at the time put out flags to thank the American military for the liberation in 1945. The communist government took up the flags and announced that these were actually Red Army troops in U.S. Army uniforms. And so for 50 years, they could not recognize that, but you made a difference. And then I had the opportunity to go to Romania this summer and to visit MK Air Base, again, a joint American-Romanian base, NATO base, which would have not been possible if you hadn't been successful. And then on to, I was in Kiev, Ukraine. Who would ever imagine, again, a new nation, a brand new nation that's been brought back to life because of your success. And we had the opportunity to see what you've done. Additionally, I want to thank you because what you've done is promote the nuclear non-proliferation agreements that we have around the world, again, providing for peace and security. And then finally, you produce fuel for the TVA. So on and on. You have so much to be looking back at what you've done in the past, but what's being done in the future. And I want to, and my appreciation here is very personal. Carol was pointing out 1951. I can go back to 1888. My grandfather Wilson was born at Beach Island, 1888. Great-grandfather Wilson was born at Beach Island, 1860. So I really predate everything here. So, but I want to extend an invitation. Please come by. It's your congressional office, 2229 Rayburn House Office Building. First of all, you can meet with Sarah Ballou locally. She's in our office here at the County Administration Building. You get to see good people like Senator Tom Young. And then you come up to Washington, and I'm very grateful that Matt Blackburn, who is of Aiken, he speaks your language. Please come by. You don't have to call. Just come by. We'd love to have your family come by. We give extraordinary tours to the Capitol. I am honored and inspired to be in your presence today. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman. In closing, I'd like to reiterate our personal thanks to the retirees and current workers for your vital role in the safe and successful operation of H Canyon for the last 60 years. Thank you all for your commitment, your dedication, and your service. One more round of applause.